Welcome to the first edition of Iron Therapy. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined by our staff therapist, Leslie Timbo, and we're going to be talking about all things related to the mental aspect of the Iron game. And man, is that a very important component, Leslie, ever, huh?
So much so, especially lately, Dave.
Yeah, it seems like people are losing their minds. I don't know if it's the whole COVID thing and people were cooped up for too long, or if it's just the state of affairs in the world, or I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, there's been mental health issues for a long time, even before COVID and all this other kind of stuff. I think the COVID absolutely exacerbated things, but there's been issues that have been stemming back for centuries. So this is not a new thing. I'm sure. Well, you've been talking about, let's say, even the Callum situation, and people are saying, has Callum gone crazy?
Callum Van Mulder, you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. And I think the important thing is to saying, this didn't happen overnight. He didn't just wake up, being this different kind of person.
Let's get people caught up to what's going on. You want to give us a little brief scenario or synopsis of what you've been going on lately with him?
Sure. Now, I'll be upfront and say I never met Callum, but from what I've read, from what I've watched on various podcasts and that kind of thing, I mean, he's been in the fitness industry for a very, very long time. I remember seeing him playing Arnold in the that documentary Bigger.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Does he train? Does he live the fitness lifestyle? Yeah, he does. Now,
he's done some pretty reckless things. We got to even mention before whatever this latest break he's had is. Remember, he was in Gold's Gym Venice. He was doing like serial bicep curls with someone, and he tore his bicep. And then when that healed, he was trying to like rappel down this cliff. You remember
the cliff? I remember that. Yes.
And then he tore his patella tendon and retore the bicep. I mean, he was making some pretty bad decisions, And I know that he was trying to obviously be super sensationalistic to get more followers on social media. But at what point do you start being reckless? I mean, here you are, you got a role in a movie. You're pretty well known. You have a great social media following. What would be the reason for doing reckless stuff like that? I mean, it almost seems like like a self-destructive type of thing he's got going on.
It is. And sometimes when you become very well known, famous, you feel like you almost become untouchable. And yes, he suffered those injuries. Did he come back from them? Yes. Did he come back 100%? No. But did he come back good enough? And it's always when the bar is set high, you want to set it higher. And unfortunately, that can lead to, not necessarily, but it can lead to, in this case, Callum's, making some very poor choices.
Right. Do you think he's in this rebel without a cause type of phase? It looks like he's growing his hair. He's got some crazy hairdos. He's got a lot of tattoos. Is he almost I think like you said, that you feel invincible at some point. You say, well, what's the next craziest thing I can do to outdo what I just did the last time type of thing?
And that's very much kind of even a bodybuilder's mentality. How can I get better every time I get back on stage? Now, that's not necessarily unhealthy, but can you make choices that are unhealthy? Absolutely. And then, my understanding of this, the incident, at least with the machete in the parking lot, was
explain to people what happened, so they in case they don't know.
Okay, so just to just really, really quickly. No, I'm trying to remember all the details, but there was a guy in this parking lot, and I don't know if he took his spot or what it was. Do you remember the details of that?
Those details are not that. He got mad at the guy for whatever.
He got mad, and he got a machete. Now, I don't know. I'm living in Canada. I don't walk around with a machete, nor do I have a machete in my vehicle.
I don't have I don't even have access to like a pocket knife in my car. But,
I don't even have a pocket knife in my car. So I mean, why you would walk around or have it in your car, I don't know. But I mean, regardless, when you get upset, I get you can get upset. But to threaten someone and go running after them, and keep in mind, Callum is not a little person. He's a big boy, very muscular. I mean, if I had a big guy,
he's very intimidating. He's a muscular guy, right? Exactly.
So if he comes after anybody with a machete, I'd be running for the hills.
Well, let me just preface this. Number one, if you're going to get out of your car because you're mad at someone, when you're that big, because I remember I was big, and a couple of times I lost my cool, got out of my car. the presence of me alone was enough to intimidate the other person. If you get out with a weapon, okay, especially a weapon like a machete, if I'm in the car and I see someone coming at me with a machete and I have a gun, I'm going to shoot them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know in Australia. I don't think it's very hard to have handguns in Australia. So maybe they got to walk around machetes. But if someone's coming at me with a machete and is going to try to kill me, I'm going to shoot them. And especially if he was in California, he would have got his head blown off, from doing that,
Now, do I think he was in his right mind? No. Now, here's the thing. My understanding from reading some reports is that when they found him, they allegedly found him with steroids, with cocaine and meth.
Yeah.
Now, steroids aside, the cocaine and meth, I mean, they have very similar side effects when you're on it.
Right.
As far as the mood swings, the outbursts, the loss of inhibitions, the threatening, the very aggressive kind of behavior. It can affect judgment. Absolutely. So, I mean, this is something that, is not a new thing for Callum. He had to have been on it for at least some period of time. This has been building up. And I think this has been translating to a lot of his choices.
Well, the judgment to drive around with the stuff in the car to begin with is not a good judgment call, right? Because I mean, people do get pulled over for traffic violations and stuff like that. So obviously, having that stuff in the car is not really a good idea. Not with that, forgetting about the fact that he chased someone with a machete. I mean, he could have just got pulled over for traffic. It could have been laying out. I don't know if it was laying out or if it was hidden or something like that. But why even drive around with steroids in the car? I mean, it's not like you're going to take a shot in your vehicle. You do that, in your house. I understand if he was using meth or cocaine, he might need it on him. But the whole thing sounds like a very bad situation for him. And when you have people come to you and they're at that, where you can see they're being very self-destructive to themselves, how do you advise them to break that cycle without having to go to jail and hit rock bottom?
Now, here's the thing. A lot of people I've seen on some boards have been saying, why don't the people who are closest to Callum try to talk to him and try to be able to reach him to, stop this behavior and get the help he needs?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know Callum or his family or his social network, but my guess is, having dealt with a lot of people like Callum, is that they probably have tried.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure they've reached out to him because I know I knew guys that were hooked on drugs, and unfortunately, some of them wound up dead. But they lie. They're in denial. They'll say, "Oh, I'm not using anything." Why would you say that? They get insulted and they start to almost confront you, and then you get the phone calls. Hey, can I borrow $100? I'll pay you back tomorrow. Tomorrow. That's also pretty typical drug behavior.
They'll sell anything they own just to get that next fix, because that's the thing with cocaine and meth. I mean, they're highly addictive. So what that means is that they can develop a tolerance. So to get that same high, that same feeling, you have to actually take more of that substance.
And it's expensive. It's an expensive habit to be potentially on. I don't care how much money you're making.
Yeah.
There were people like in Hollywood who've gone bankrupt from doing so many drugs that they have no money left. So at some point, like you said, when you run out of money, you start doing illegal things because you got to get your fix. And so I'm amazed that they're actually still allowing him to travel from Australia back to the United States. I think he's back in the U.S. unless the pictures on his Instagram were old.
Yeah, I don't know how he got released, considering the charges.
Now, putting aside the machete incident, maybe he had a bad case of road rage. All right, had a bad day. He's been doing a lot of peculiar stuff and I don't want to even put it up there. I'm an animal lover, so I don't want to put it up there. But I think he might have by accident hit a kangaroo in his car, and then he put the thing in the back of the car, and then he chopped the legs off of it or something. Like very peculiar, weird, sadistic-y behavior that's going on. And what's with that? I mean, serial killers don't kill animals. I mean, what's going on?
No, they kill people and they delimb people.
Right, but usually people have compassion for animals, even if they're a little mentally nuts. What's going on with him? Is he's just doing weird stuff? It seems like.
Again, that's the judgment being totally affected. He's getting his high in different ways, and they're very, I'm an animal lover too, and I haven't spoken to Lee about this, but I would assume, hitting a kangaroo on its own, by accident, can we hit an animal on the highway? Sure. That in itself it can be a normal incident. It's what happened afterwards. you know, if he wants to pull it off the road or bury it or whatever, that's fine. But what he ended up doing is chopping off the limbs, which I don't understand in the head. Now, if you were going to cut it up for, I don't know, kangaroo meat or something like that, that would be a little bit different.
Right.
But that's not how it came across, at least in the videos I actually did watch, which were very disturbing. I agree. But it's the whole, you know, also filming it. Why would you even film it and then laugh about it?
And
Because
it was a very inappropriate laugh, like
Yeah.
like almost like he thought it was like funny what was going on. Whereas, you know, I can understand if you're upset and you want to show something on video because you document your whole life and say, hey, so terribly, you know, I feel so bad. I hit this
Right.
animal. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take it to the vet, or I'm going to whatever, take it to the animal rescue. I don't know whatever the case may be. But he almost seemed like he was like enjoying the whole thing that was going on, which just was like totally inappropriate. You know, like just
Yeah.
not correct. You're not like of the right mind. You know.
But this is the thing. This is that high. They want to up the high. And it's about what can I do next? And again, this is with impaired judgment to get that fix, that next, what's the next thing? So I don't know what the next thing is going to be, but this is a disaster waiting to happen. Something else is going to happen with Callum.
I think so too. I hope it's not like something where someone gets killed or something like that.
Agreed.
I
hope
look
not.
what happened with Craig Titus and Kelly Ryan. They were on meth for like a week straight, and they didn't sleep. And obviously, it resulted in a woman dying. You know, and the two of them going to jail. So that's not what we want to see happen to Colin. So what do? You have a friend, you have a family member who's high as a kite, whatever, making poor decisions. I mean, what do you do? As a therapist, what would you recommend?
Well, you have to get them on a period of time when they're close to being sober.
It might be hard.
That might be hard because they can be on a high all day. But if you can get them at a moment and try to use that moment to help them, encourage them strongly, and even if you have to, join them in going to a place to detox. Because the first and foremost thing is no amount of therapy is going to work until they detoxed.
Yeah.
And that's usually a medical detox. So you're going to have that in place. Now, whether it can be mandated or not, if you can prove that they're a threat to themselves or other people, then you might have a good chance of being able to have them mandated into some type of program. And that's not out. So there's programs where you can go in like a day program,
right,
and then you go home at night and then just come back in. And then there's like,
he's going to go back. Yeah, he's going to go out and he's going to get high again.
Right. No, he needs to be mandated into like 24/7 for at least 6 months, you know, a year or many years, because the idea is once they detox, the first step is detoxing.
Right. Second
piece is to help them cope, because keep in mind, why do people use?
Something,
you know,
emotionally,
anything. It doesn't have to be, you know, just the meth or cocaine. It could be alcohol. It could be even food. It could be anything. There's a reason why we use any kind of substance. And to go back to it, it's usually to fill a void or to address a situation or to avoid addressing a situation. So it's learning about better coping mechanisms. I mean, for me, I use something called CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. All that means is how we think and how we feel are very much intertwined. So if I want to help someone to get a different type of high, I'm going to coach them on different ways of getting that high. It's not going to be as fun. It's not going to be a quick fix like, you know, snorting or whatever it might be, but it's going to have long-term effects in a healthier way, because long-term meth use or long-term cocaine or a lot of this, you can get lung issues, you can get heart issues.
Yeah. Or it can permanently mess your brain up too.
For sure it could.
So he's got to get sober first. And obviously there's nothing we can do or people on the outside.
He has to be willing. You could drag him, but if he's not willing, I mean, like I said, he could be mandated depending on the situation. But I mean, he has to be willing to accept the help. And a lot of times these people are addicts, they're in denial. Like you said before, Dave, it's I don't have a problem, you're the problem. You can't accept me for who I am. You know, maybe you're using, like they turn the table around. It's really about you and not them.
You know, he's such a person who likes to be on film. They should do a filmed intervention with his family and close friends, and just film the whole thing, and then give him the tape and say, hey, go watch this when you got a free moment, because maybe that'll sometimes it's hard to see yourself from the outside, but if you actually watch yourself on video acting like a retard and arguing with people, and look, you can lie to other people and say you're not using, but you're using, so sometimes you need to almost see it to actually believe it. and to actually make the change. It's a shame.
And I agree. Sometimes we don't see what we're doing or saying, and when we see it on the outside, it's kind of like, oh, is that really what I looked like, or is that really what I said to that person? But they have to be, like I said, they don't have to be 100% sober, but they certainly cannot be totally high, because they're not going to process that information the same way.
Right. I mean, it could also be, also the guy had a lot of success early on in his career. He's very popular, and, he was in a movie, and maybe he's been trying to get in more movies. Maybe the door hasn't opened for him in Hollywood the way he wanted it to. And that could be depressing in and of itself, and so you're trying to fill that void, like you said, because here you are, you're on the up, and then you're kind of stuck here, and you're not going anywhere. And so you start doing destructive things. You try to do crazy stuff to maybe get a bigger following on social media, thinking that's going to open a door to you. And before you know it, you get caught in this terrible trap of of using stuff that you should never have used to begin with. But now you're in like this vicious cycle that you just don't want to stop, because you don't want to go through the pain and discomfort to get off the stuff,
And you have to have a good social network, but you also have to let that social network in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you push people away, it's hard, because then, if you're only relying on yourself, what happens is we go into dark places in our mind, and that's usually those worst case scenarios, and they become fabricated, and, to the exponent 100, like it's just, we exaggerate things. Even on a good day, we can exaggerate things. Ask any bodybuilder in prep. But I mean, it's more about saying, okay, how do I get to myself in that happier place, when I go off? And I'm not talking about bodybuilding per se, but when my mind is not where it should be. It could be something as a lack of motivation. When my mind isn't where it should be, or if if it's going on unhealthy territory, how do I bring it back? It's learning to have strategies, because willpower on its own isn't going to work.
Right.
And that's where working with someone like myself can really help, because I give people concrete strategies. Will I hear what you have to say? Yes. But will I have a lot to say back to you? Yes, I will. But it's basically giving you a guideline, a map of how you can get back on track.
Right. So, I mean, that's good advice, because look, you might be addicted to drugs, and you might know that, you don't really want to do this, but you're afraid to stop because you hate the way you feel when you stop. You feel empty. Obviously, you can get withdrawal, and people just don't want to end the cycle because it's just too painful. It's like, I got to get my ankle operated on. I'm going in May. I finally made an appointment May 12th and they got to fuse some bones in the bottom of my foot. And I don't really want to do it, because I know I'm going to be in a cast for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. I'm not going to be able to drive. And it's like, oh, do I really want to go through this now? I mean, let me see how long I can deal with the pain and keep putting it off. But meanwhile, I could just get it done and be over with it and starting to recuperate, and so, you got to just at some point just say, okay, I'm ready, and so to have someone like you, and it doesn't have to be you, obviously, but it's a therapist person you could talk to who can kind of let you see things in a more clear way and agree. Because you know what? You don't talk to the people you're doing drugs with and say, I want to get off drugs, because they're going to be like, why? What do you want to do that for? This is great. You got to talk, and you can't talk to someone who's going to judge you harshly because they don't even know what you need a third party, like a therapist, that can actually sit there unbiased and listen to what you're saying, and then give you logical advice that in your brain is making sense to you. And I think that he should seek someone, but it could even be you. Sometimes a total stranger, is the way to go.
Yeah, and the nice thing about someone like myself is that I'm not just a therapist. I'm also an athlete, so I kind of get that whole atmosphere. I mean, we were talking about drugs like cocaine and meth, but if we even talk about steroids, I mean, I kind of laugh when I hear about people cruising. It's just saying, okay, well, if you're really going to go off it, when you take just a little bit, that's not cruise. Why are you cruising? Like, just totally go off everything.
Sure. I got a good example, because I did a couple sessions with Leslie just to see if she knew what she was talking about when I first started, when we first met each other. And, it was good, because I was telling you things that in my life that maybe like a stranger who doesn't know bodybuilding would say, you're completely wrong, because you're nuts. Normal people don't do this. But she understood what I was talking about. And so it wasn't like she didn't get what I was talking about. So I think you can relate, like you said, to a person who trains and has to eat 6 times a day, and they're going to take steroids, and they're going to go to the gym, 8 times a week, and so that's not going to be something you're going to say, oh, you should really stop that. That's why you're a drug addict. You're going to look past that because you understand it and can relate to it, which makes you, I think, a better therapist for someone who does work out.
Yeah. And the nice thing about what I also, do is not just, like people who have depression, anxiety, let's say even like post-show blues. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like May, the month of May is actually known as the Mental Health Awareness Month. So from May 1st to May 30, is it 31 days in May?
Yeah.
The entire month of May is mental health awareness. And I actually write an article for an online magazine here in Canada. The Canadian Physique Alliance has an online magazine, and I write an article for them every time they have a newsletter come out, which is once every 2 months. And we're having a mental health awareness focus on for all the writers. And the title of mine is "Are Bodybuilders Crazy?" So you might be interested in that article, because I answer that very, very directly. As far as are we crazy? And if you ever want to do a podcast, or if everyone's interested in actually talking about that, I'm happy to do. We can focus on that as well.
That'll be episode 2.
Okay.
Our body, are we crazy after all? I think we are. I actually would tend to say we are a little crazy, but crazy is really, when you compare it to do we live normal lives? No. That's why, when I was trying to figure out the name of my nutrition company and I came up with Species Nutrition, it was because I said, we're almost like a different species. We're not really like the normal human being.
Well, we're not.
What normal human being eats like 6 times a day and, works out, 5 days a week and, and has such a regimented schedule and takes volume. I mean, no one does that. And so in a sense, and we don't even look like regular people. I mean, you're hypermuscular and your body fat is under 10% on a regular basis. I mean, no one walks around like that. So you can't treat someone who's a different species the same way. And that's why I came out with the nutrition line, because I knew, you can't give someone a 1-a-day Centrum and expect a bodybuilder to actually benefit from that. There's just not enough nutrients in there, vitamins, minerals, etc. So it's the same thing with mental health. I don't think that we think like a regular person. Like, in other words, who goes to Thanksgiving Day dinner and gets out of Thanksgiving and is thinking about what they're going to eat next?
We bring our little Tupperware containers.
Yeah, I'm going to go to sleep and wake up in the morning and probably won't even eat all day, because I'm so full, So we definitely don't think like typical people do,
But that's why we don't get typical results.
Right. So I think that it's important to address that, and we're going to do that in a future episode. And I appreciate you giving your insights on Colin. Hopefully, look, I hope Colin, watches this and actually, maybe contacts you. You want to give your information out if people do want to contact you for any kind of counseling?
So sure. I mean, I do by email. You can contact me at leslie@timbol.ca. So it's LESLEY, the @ TIMBOL.ca. Or you can call or text me at 416-805-6155. If I'm unable to answer, my voicemail is finally working. So you can feel free to leave me a detailed voicemail.
Now, this is a true therapist who gives out her cell phone number right on the air here for the whole world to see. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. I hope people enjoy this. If you guys do, show us the love. Hit that like button, subscribe, because you know what? If you do like this and, tell us in the comments below, we're going to do more of these. And I think it's very important to not only address the physical, but the mental aspect of the Iron Game. Thank you, Leslie Timbol. I'm Dave Palumbo. Hopefully, we'll see you next time on Iron Therapy.